Now, all mammals have a nervous system. Now, the two nervous systems we are going to consider, and the ones we're going to pay more attention to. Number one is called the CNS, Central Nervous System. Number two is the Peripheral Nervous System, PNS. But we're going to focus much more on the CNS, which is the Central Nervous System. The Central Nervous System is made up of two major parts. Number one is the brain, and number two is the spinal cord. I figure by now we know what the brain is, how it looks like, probably, and the spinal cord. But we'll look at this so that we can have a bigger feel, or a bigger view, and have a more depth understanding of the central nervous system. So the nervous system we're going to talk about is the central nervous system. There is also the peripheral nervous system, but mostly we'll talk about the central nervous system. Probably we'll also dive into the peripheral nervous system. So let's kind of differentiate between these two systems. They are all talking about the nervous system, but what's the difference? So the combination of the brain and the spinal cord, they make up the central nervous system. And then we have the nerves and the receptors. They make up the peripheral nervous system. Hope you can tell the difference. So central nervous system is made out of BS. Okay, BS, that is, let me put it in red. The central nervous system is made up of BS, brain and spinal cord. And then we have the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of NR, with nerves and receptors. Okay, so you might expecting effectors and stuff like that, but we have nerves and receptors making up the peripheral nervous system, and the central nervous system is made up of BS, that is the brain and the spinal cord. Just put these in these acronym will be able to help you to remember. Central nervous system is made up of BS, brain and the spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system is made up of NR, which is the nerves and the receptors. So that is what we'll be discussing mostly in these lessons. We'll talk a lot about the nerves, the receptors, the brain, and the spinal cord. So that will be a major focus on the central nervous systems. So for now, we can end it on this one, and then before we end, we'll look at just some few images of the central nervous system for us to have a feel or a depth understanding of the nervous system, the two systems of the nervous system, that is number one, the central nervous system, and number two, the peripheral nervous system. So what we have here, we are seeing this person here with kind of these roots like branches, roots and branches combined into this. So this seems more of like just branches. So this is the central, the nervous system. You can see the brain there. We've got the part in the brain, and this yellow line there, which is the spinal cord from there to here, and the nerves there. So this is the central nervous system, and that we'll be talking much about. That makes up the nervous system, of course. That makes up that is made up of the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. This is just an image for us to be able to see, so that these branches, these things are branching out in the entire body. We'll discuss why are they branching out in the entire body to carry out the sensor, to perform the action of the nervous system, and we'll be able to talk about other things. So let's look at another image, graphical representation of the nervous system, so that we can be able to understand better. Alright, so here we have the complete graphical illustration of the nervous system. So you can see the entire body is made up of these kind of roots in the entire body. So this is the nervous system, and this is how they are arranged in the body, and this is the illustration of the nervous system. we can see them branching out in the entire body, and this is how the nerves are. The nervous system is established or is set up in the body. That's what we'll be talking much about. We will talk about the sensory organs. We'll talk about the receptors, the effectors, and we'll talk about the neurons, the actions of these neurons, as well as stimulus, how it's able to cause what we call a reflex action. So all these things will be discussed in this lesson. Nervous system and sensory organs. So that will be our topic for today. So in this lesson, we are talking about the nervous system and sensory organs. Now, the nervous system and sensory organs they are very much important in the body. Why are they important? Just like the endocrine system is a system of coordination. Okay, it enables two organs to be able to operate and work together. There is that communication in between the pancreatic cells, the pancreas, and in the blood system. You know, when there's too much glucose in the body, we talked about how the pancreas will release insulin to be able to reduce the concentration of blood glucose level. And when glucose is not enough, we learned about how the pancreas will send the glucagon hormone to be able to reduce to increase the concentration of glucose in the body. So you are seeing that coordination, or that system working working together, the togetherness of systems in the body. So that is the nervous system's primary role, or very important role, is for that coordination. Okay, so coordination is very important in life processes, especially for living things. Living things have to coordinate. For example, how do you know that you are in a hot environment and you have to move? So you being in that cold environment, you get the sense like, this is a cold environment, I need to move away from here. It's too cold here. Find some place where it's warm for your body and your body systems. So that coordination between your brain, it's not just your brain which feels the coldness, which detects the coldness. The coldness is from your skin. Then from your skin, the information sent to your brain communicates with your limbs, your legs, your arms. You're able to walk away from that cold environment. So you are seeing this chain of coordination between your organs, amongst your organs. That information is being sent. So coordination is very much important to life processes and for living things. So that is the reason why the nervous system and sensory organs come into play. They help us to carry out that coordination in living things. So we do have changes in our environment. Organisms' environment do change, and these changes may lead for us to change as well, probably to change our position or to change our movement. We should move faster, we should move slower. So the body has to communicate. How should you move faster? When should you move slower? So those coordinations come about because it's an internal system which helps us to understand, which helps the processes in the body, or the organs in the body, to be able to detect and carry out those seemingly important communication amongst themselves very much easier. So we talk about the nervous system and the coordination. So let's go ahead and discuss the nervous system and sensory organs. Now, we did talk about how the nervous system and sensory organs are important, that coordination is an important process for living organisms. So, very much important we have to consider is what we call a stimuli. We can't talk about the nervous system starting from anywhere else apart from starting on the principle of stimuli, or on the idea of stimuli. So, what is stimuli? Stimuli is a response, something which leads to a response. Okay, something which causes something to respond is called a stimulus. What do we mean? Probably an example will be able to help us. Let's say you are walking and then you see something coming your way, or let's say you see an object, a vehicle coming in front of you, and then you stop. Okay, so the act of you stopping was caused by a stimulus, which is probably the movement of the vehicle coming to you. So acted as a stimulus, causing a response in your body. A typical example, you can use that one when you are in a hot environment, or you're close to a place which is burning, or which is very hot. You see your body will respond to move you to somewhere which is colder or which is not very hot. So that hotness is acting as a stimulus because it's leading to a response in your system. So that is called a stimulus. Now, our environment, we are surrounded by stimuli, which is response, a plural form for stimulus. So we are surrounded by stimuli, that is, these things which causes response in us. There are a lot of them. So these stimulus, they cause they have an effect on our body, because our body has to change depending on what's causing that effect. There's something which is stimulating that. So the stimuli are sensed. The stimulus are sensed by specialized cells which are called receptors. The receptors. So receptors are just sense organs. To sense, probably in this context, it means to detect, to know that something is happening, and they detect it. So these are called receptors, and they are very much important for us to be able to detect those stimuli or stimulus which is causing a response to our bodies. So stimulus are probably the ones which cause the receptors they are the ones, the receptors detect the stimulus. Now, in this lesson, we'll have to focus on two important words which I want us to put into mind and to remind ourselves more often. Number one is stimulus, is receptor. Number two is stimulus or stimuli. So a stimuli is something which leads to a response, or then we have a receptor, is the one which senses, okay, the stimuli or stimulus, or detects. Let's say you are in a hot place. Your skin detects that I'm touching a hot surface. So the skin acts as a receptor. It's able to sense that you are touching a hot surface, and that is called a receptor. Okay? So this nervous system is about receptors, them detecting something which will cause a response, to be able to coordinate. Remember, the most important aspect of the nervous system is the coordination of life, the coordination in the body of an organism. Okay, we're not talking about just a human being here, we're also talking about animals, mammals in general. That's what we're talking about. So the organism responds to stimulus using what we call the effectors. The effectors are the ones which carry out which make into action the information which is received from the receptors. So these are usually the muscles and the glands. Okay, so we have two things here, three ways here that I want us to remember. Number one is the receptor. Number two is the effector. So the effector enables it carries out the response to the stimulus. The receptor detects the stimulus. So the receptor detects the stimulus, and the effector, they respond to the stimulus. So let me just put some graphical So we have what we call the receptor. This is the guy which is going to sense and be able to detect that there's something going on. I'm touching somewhere where it's hot, I'm touching somewhere where it's cold, but he won't do anything. His job is just to detect, that's all. So these are called the receptors. And then they have to send the information to what we call the effectors. The effectors are the ones now who are going to carry out the action of responding to the information which has been received from the receptor. Okay, these are usually the muscles. So let's take an action of you touching a hot surface. When you touch that hot surface, your skin is able to detect, so it acts as a receptor, and then you are going to move your hand away from that hot surface. Now, the action of moving your hand away is caused by your muscles and your bones coordinating together. So these are called the effectors. The muscles is the one which enables you to be able to pull your hand out. So the muscles are acting as the effectors, and then the skin is acting as a receptor. So that is the connection in between these two. Now, talking about connection, how are these two really communicating to each other? Now, this is a very summarized summarized way of putting things together about the nervous system. The information is sent from the receptors to the effectors, from the receptors to the effectors via a channel. And these are there are two of them. Okay, we have got what we call the two methods by which information is sent from the receptor to the effector. The number one is called the nerves. Number two is the hormones. Now, we talked about hormones and how they're able to carry out this coordination between organs. They're able to send chemicals into the body. They're able to transmit information from one gland to a target organ. We talked a lot about how the adrenaline, we talked about the thyroid, the pituitary gland, and all these things. So these transmit hormones, and hormones as well as nerves, these are systems via which information is transferred from the receptor to the effector. Now, the fastest way of transmitting this information is via the nerves. That is the fastest method. And then the hormones is a slower method but important method. Okay, this doesn't mean the hormone is much more important than the nervous system, than the nerves. Only stressing the point that even though they are slower, the method is important as well. Doesn't mean it's less important just because it is slower. But the nerves is the fastest method by which information is transferred from the receptors to the effectors. So what's the takeaway from this? We're talking about stimulus, which is the surrounding environment, which can cause a change, a response in us. So this could be any response. Could be you to stop talking. Could be you to walk, to stop walking. There's a response your body has to coordinate. You see, your body is a complex system made up of these different organs, and it has to coordinate. So we have the receptors which detect or detect the presence of stimulus or stimuli, and then they work together with the effectors which are going to respond according to the information they have received from the receptors. So the examples of receptors, these are our sense organs. Probably you have the nose. The nose will be able to sense that you are in an environment which is not good. Probably you sense something foul, and then you have to move away, or you sense something good, like a nice aroma, that there's food somewhere, and probably you move close to it. But don't move closer too much to the kitchen. You might so that is a way of the body being able to sense the information around the environment. So you see, you're a complex system. You're made up of these systems that help you to be able to carry out these responses and be able to respond according to what you are receiving from your environment. So the information is sent via two systems or two methods. Number one is the nerves, and number two are the hormones.